Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Details Podcast. My name is Tara Miller, and I am so excited to have our first guest with us today. This is Courtney Otte, owner of the Modern Hive. Thanks for being here.
Of course, Tara. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited and so honored to be here.
When I started a podcast, I knew that you had to be my first guest because, okay, we're both interior designers. We both own design firms in Omaha, and you were one of the first people that I reached out to when I wanted to start my own podcast. So I was like, the people need to hear from you.
Well, that's awesome. I am excited to share whatever today brings.
Yes. Okay. Well, we did do a little bit of legwork. We talked a little bit about questions, but I've added to it. So there might be some surprise things that you don't know about.
Ooh, okay.
So first of all, tell us in your own words about the Modern Hive.
Okay, so I would say we are a luxury comprehensive interior design firm in Omaha, Nebraska, offering our clients just a really high level of detail. And we just like to work with really great people and really great projects.
Absolutely. I love it. Okay. And so how many years have you been in business?
I have to count. I lose track, same as my age. I can't remember. But I started my company in 2012. So I believe that makes us going into our 13th year.
Love it.
Yes.
Okay. So question. What was your upbringing like? Did you grow up in an entrepreneurial family? And I know the answer, but I'm asking for the listeners.
I did. I totally did. My dad was an entrepreneur alongside with my grandpa. They were in the agricultural insurance business. And so I just saw them growing up, just doing these crazy, fun, probably stressful things at times. But it was just in me from a very young age.
Yeah. Love that question. Was your dad around a lot, or was he very busy in the business?
Yeah, he did travel quite a bit. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she did a lot of the legwork while he was gone. But I think that just kind of showed me at a really young age that really you could do both. I mean, as a female, and I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, growing up, seeing your mom as a stay-at-home mom, and then you obviously being a huge breadwinner, a businesswoman, how has that affected you? Or did you have to process that at all? Or were you just I know I want to be an entrepreneur. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I did kind of have to process it. It's weird, right? As a mom, as a wife, you have those roles where you want to be home for your family. But then you also have this other baby, or my first baby. I don't know, my business.
Mine's my first baby.
Yeah, I mean, it was my first baby. I'm thinking of my husband too. Got to give him credit, I don't want to just push him off to the side, but
yes.
Yeah, my business was my first baby in a sense. And so it was when the kids come along, it's okay, how do I do this? How do I balance it?
Yeah.
How do I be okay with this?
For sure. And I think I got a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I love starting how you grew up and kind of how that shaped your path. So when you were okay, I think design is the career path for me. Were you going into it thinking I want to start my own firm, or were you going into it thinking oh, I'm going to take the traditional route, work for someone else, blah, blah, blah. What was that path like for you?
I was never going to work for someone else.
I love that. I love that. You knew
Never.
right off the jump.
Yeah.
Good
yeah.
for you.
I mean, I did have an internship at another interior, independent designer. She worked out of her home. And so that's where I kind of got my start. And then I kind of knew I was just never going to work for anyone. I wanted to do it on my own.
I love that. And you had those entrepreneurial roots in your family. So I feel that made the path clear.
Yeah.
And probably a great point person to ask questions to was your dad. Hey, I'm thinking about starting my own business. What did he say when you first kind of said that? I think I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
Okay, well, so this is actually funny. I kind of just did it. I mean,
you didn't tell him?
I did. I mean, I might have in passing said this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I just kind of did it, and it really kind of organically came to life because actually my very first interior design project was with my dad and my grandpa, who were the entrepreneurs.
Oh my gosh. Okay, dive into that. So wait, were you out of school or were you in school in your first interior design project?
I was still in school.
Love this.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did this project come about?
Okay, so my dad and my grandpa, who has now since passed, but they like to hunt. They like the nature thing.
Yeah, I love this part.
This is totally not my style at all. But they wanted to build a barn dominium. And we had a builder identified. It's the same builder that built my parents' house and did some renovations for my family. And so I actually took a job in his office, but I already had my business established because I'm like, okay.
Oh, you were working in the contractors?
I was for 2 years. Yeah.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
some good like general business admin experience.
Oh, it was so helpful.
Yeah.
Just like understanding how a business even runs.
Okay. So you're doing that like 8 to 5 and then yours nights and weekends?
Yeah,
or?
like moonshining it basically.
Totally. Love. Similar story, but go ahead.
Yeah. So anyways, my grandpa and my dad decided to build this barn dominium, and I, kind of inserted myself in there and said, hey, I'm going to be your designer because we were not having camo upholstered sofas in
They didn't
this
have
space.
a choice.
They did not have a choice. And they're like, okay, fine, I guess. Like, okay. So
yeah, and there's so many amazing like hunting lodges out there.
Oh, yes.
So just the fact that you brought your eye to like elevate that, I'm sure they appreciated more than you know.
It turned out pretty good, if I don't say so myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought, if I'm going to do this legitimately, I need to get like the TIN number, the resale certificate, establish myself. And so I did, and I just did it. Didn't really even ask them. I'm like, hey, can you hire me?
Yeah.
You're going to hire me.
Yeah. And did you use that first project as like your first portfolio?
I did.
Okay.
But it's not even on my website anymore.
I was going to say two things. So I know that the elk in your old logo.
Oh my gosh, the
came
evolution
from
of
this,
logos.
yeah, branding is the section we're going to talk about. But let's talk about like, so you started your business. Did you start with, I know you said your first design project was your dad's hunting lodge, but did you have like a website, a logo? Like, did you set all that before or after? Like, what was your sequence, your order of events?
I've always done this really in a strange way, but like I actually started doing the work and I started building my website and my logo all at the same time. And it's just this wild thing, like building my website, like mapping it all out on my website was in a sense a way of creating my business plan. Like that sounds wild,
Yes.
but like the structure of it, like mapping it all out so people can understand what am I getting when I hire the Modern Hive.
Yeah. So you were doing all three at the same time. You were doing the work, making your own website, and your own like logo and branding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I did the same thing. Well, I had worked post college. Like I worked at a firm before I started for myself. But I was doing after I left the firm. I did some free work at first because the firm owned all the photography and I was a junior designer, not a senior designer.
Yeah.
And so they owned the right to the photography, which respect, they should.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I had to like remake my portfolio. So I did a couple jobs for free while I was like, downloading Squarespace, trying to figure out like the back end of computers. And I did pay a guy to like
All
do my
the hats.
first logo, but it was basic, like
Yeah.
black and white. We both rebranded since, which we're going to talk about because we use the same lady, Shauna. She's amazing.
Amazing.
But okay, so you were doing all three. At what point did you decide, okay, I'm going to quit my 8 to 5 desk job working for the builder and like full time go into the Modern Hive?
So I would say I decided to quit when I got my first new build project. And I'm like, I'm kind of ready to move on from the builder anyways. My time here has been great, but it's time to spread my wings.
Yeah.
So I got like a new build under my belt, and then I had just like a living room client under my belt. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to take it from here and see what happens.
Boom. And were you single or were you married?
I was married.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, same. I married, Ryan and I got married in 2016, and then I launched my business, I think, at the end of 2017, like September of 2017.
Okay.
So my husband liked the security net of me working for someone else, insurance.
That's fair.
Steady paycheck.
Yep.
Did you went from basically working at the builder to your own. How did your husband feel about the transition?
He has always been super supportive, and our relationship has just been like that back and forth. He's in the service, the military, and so there are times where I just supportive of him doing his thing and what that brings along with it. And he's always been the same for me. But I will say that first year was a little tricky and iffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, surprise, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you don't make much your first couple years of entrepreneurship. So
No, you do not.
it's not cash flow.
Do you want to know how much I made my first year?
Yeah.
$8,000.
I love that you know that, though.
How sad.
I don't know. Okay, I'll have to go back through my profit and loss statements and look at my first year.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you. This is one thing I'm going to like ask all the business people that I brought on because I think that like the startup process is very scary at first and intimidating. So I kind of want to demystify that. But what I did, I didn't like get a business loan or, investors or anything. I just took $2,000 from my paycheck at my like full-time job and I put that into my business. And then I just kind of like, got the website, got some headshots, and started, marketing on social media because social media is free. And that's how I kind of started it, like equity wise. How did you start? Did you invest in yourself too, or?
I think I took like $800 and established myself legitimately. I had a lawyer file the paperwork, and I bootstrapped literally anything and everything I could.
Yeah.
It's bare minimum.
Question, because I had an attorney file my LLC as well. And she charged me, attorneys cost like hundreds of dollars per hour, like $200 or $250 an hour, depending on your attorney. But I didn't know that in the state of Nebraska, you can just like walk in and file your own LLC for $15.
No,
like it takes
I
time.
didn't know this.
Like it takes time out of your day. But when you're like startup, you have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I actually felt like I shouldn't have hired my attorney to file my LLC because I ended up paying like, I don't know, $500 or something for her time when I realized I could have only spent $15. Back then it hurt. Like now I feel like you and I are in established businesses and like time is money and like we're more likely to outsource things.
Absolutely.
But that one burnt.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that. And I actually established my LLC in Iowa.
Yes.
So that might be different over there.
Possibly. I don't know. Okay. So you started your business around 2012. You bootstrapped it like me. I love that. And then if you can, in like, because we have so much great stuff to get into, can you just like take us from 2012 to 2024, a journey?
Oh my gosh.
In like a couple paragraphs.
I'll try to condense it. For years, I worked for myself all alone, did literally everything from the bookkeeping to the branding to the design itself, like literally everything.
Client onboarding, client invoicing,
yeah,
marketing,
yeah, and
taxes.
then all of it. I mean, yeah, I think I did hire a CPA to do the taxes because that terrifies me.
True.
But
Same.
I'm not doing H&R Block around here.
No.
But yeah, no, then I got to a point where I started to get really busy and I'm like, okay, these errands are a lot harder to run, like going to pick up these tile samples. So I hired a 1099 independent contractor.
Can I pause you?
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is a great piece of business advice for people who don't know. Like if you are truly like wanting to start a business, whether it be interior design or a different business, there are two types of employees that I know of. A W-2, which is a standard, and a 1099. So W-2 is like, you hire them, they're an employee of your business. They have set hours. They come in, they work on your like business owned computers. You set their schedule and they're a full employee of the company. 1099 is more like a contracted employee where they set their own schedule, they use their own computer and equipment and everything, and they bill you for their time.
That's correct. Yeah. So I realized shortly after, like, that's not the right fit. That's not the right thing. Definitely served a purpose in the time that I was in. I think I was pregnant with my first kid at that point. And so I'm like, yeah, I definitely, like, maternity leave's coming up. Like, that's something we should also talk about.
Yeah, did you take maternity leave?
Yeah, a couple weeks.
I'm jealous. That's good for you. Take maternity leaves. That was one of my biggest regrets, is not taking a maternity
But they were not much. It was like a couple weeks, and I was doing emails on the side, but...
I was doing emails in the hospital.
Oh, I might have been too.
Not good.
But I was still off.
Don't recommend.
No, 10 out of 10 don't.
Okay, so hold on. Okay, so you hired a 1099. You realized maybe you needed more help. You were pregnant with your first child.
Yep. So that 1099 did stick around for a while after my first child was born. And then we both came to a mutual agreement, like time to move different ways, and that's fine. And then I became pregnant with my second child. I'm like, I need someone.
Wait, okay, we have to ask you, is that 1099 that we were both like sharing?
No, I forgot about her. I forgot about that.
Okay, I didn't know.
No.
Okay, and I think this is really interesting because people are like, you two are interior designers, headquartered in the same town. You guys must like hate each other, like think each other is
you're like one
your
of my
competition.
besties.
Yeah, no, and we don't, and that's why I had to have you on the pod because I feel like we understand that like yes, we're both interior designers, but I think we offer a little bit different aesthetic, which
We do.
is so important. Like that's my first advice. Like if you are going to start an interior design firm, don't try to copy someone else because it's a saturated market. There's tons of people out there. I think look inside yourself and find out like what lights you on fire, what aesthetic do you like, and like hone in on that. And I think even though we're operating in the same town, we have like a very, not very different, but a different aesthetic. And I think we like speak to different target markets.
Absolutely.
And like that's a client facing thing, but like internal systems and processes are like the same. Like we
all the
talk
same.
about
Yeah.
invoicing,
I mean, we went down to Kansas City like this spring, and we talked straight the whole way there and back about all the things.
Yes. Which, how long is it? Like a 3-hour drive?
It's
from
like
here?
it's a 3-hour drive,
And we were just
didn't even come up for air.
no, and just like talking straight business, because I think that's another piece of advice. If you're going to start a business, find other female business owners to talk to, because suddenly you can't relate to anyone but other female business owners.
That's so good, Tara. But no, that 1099, I totally forgot about that. But
Okay,
yes, but that one was in between that and the next step.
Okay. Because like I think I had her like Monday, Tuesdays, and you had her like Thursday, Fridays or something.
Yeah.
It was when we were both like low-key like needing to grow, but like scared to take that step.
Oh, I was terrified.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
I mean, and I've made so many steps this past year and a half. I'm like, whatever. Like, it is what it is now.
I can't wait to talk about where you are now, because you were a powerhouse.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Okay. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. So you're pregnant. You're okay. Keep going.
I'm pregnant. We share a 1099 at this time. COVID hits. Things get real weird.
Yeah.
But then business picks up like crazy busy.
I was really busy during COVID.
I was so busy. Like, I couldn't come up for air. And I was pregnant. It was my second. And
I felt bad because people were like, I got laid off. Like, my business closed.
Yeah.
Like, all this stuff. And I'm like trying to keep my head above water.
Same.
Like so busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I birthed my son in July of 2020, which was the height of the pandemic. Yes. Which was yours first?
Second.
I was going to say, second. You had one before me. And so that was wild, because I was navigating first-time motherhood in lockdowns. And then my business was the busiest I had ever been. It was wild.
Oh, so hard.
Okay, sorry. I keep interrupting you.
Okay, so that 1099 goes away. And then I know for a fact I am ready to do it the right way and hire a W-2. And so I put some like resumes, applications out there, and then I get a couple good leads, and I finally interview my now employee Allison or Allie. And she started for me, I think, a month or so after I gave birth to my second child.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think she started in August or September. So then she's been with me now she's in her 5th year. So we go along doing our thing. We're really busy. It's COVID. Everyone wants to do their house. Allie and I are just working away. And we get to a point where my husband has a deployment on the horizon. And I'm like, we're so busy. I have 2 kids. I've got this business. We need more help.
Yeah.
And so I hired our very first office administrator, who has now been promoted to an offiess manager.
So jealous.
She does so much for us. Like,
so jealous.
I would die without her. Jill, don't leave me ever if you're listening. Love you. Yeah. So then she's been with me for almost 3 years now.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I listen to a lot of like business podcasts and business books and stuff, and there's a lot of like mixed reviews on what your first hire should be. Some people are like, oh, try to replace yourself. Some people are like, try to put someone in who does the parts that you don't like. And then some people are like, what makes you money, and then the stuff that like you just have to do to stay in business, which is typically like admin. Like I feel like for us, like what makes us money is the design work, and the admin is stuff that we just like have to do to stay in business.
Yeah.
And I feel like I did the exact same thing you did. Like, I hired another designer to help me when I did my first hire, but I wish almost that I would have hired an admin.
So actually the first thing, if we want to backtrack a little bit, the very, very first thing I did for myself when I needed help was I hired a bookkeeper. So I got rid of the bookkeeping.
I hired a bookkeeper like instantly.
Yeah. That's so smart. Like,
because I was terrified of doing something wrong.
Yeah. If I have any advice, that is my advice. Like, do that first.
That's smart.
And then get the office administrator or manager.
Which, hold on, pause. So a bookkeeper isn't technically, like, for me, in-house. It's not like an employee, but it's like a professional.
It's contracted.
Yes.
Yeah.
I pay like a monthly fee for my bookkeeper.
Yeah, same. And since then, my bookkeeper has actually been promoted to fractional CFO. So she does a lot more for me than just the bookkeeping. It's like tax planning, like even like life coaching in terms of like financials. And like we do a lot of conversation on, like pricing and why am I scared of these things? And I should just go for it if it makes sense.
Wait, did you pull that out of her, or did she like offer that service?
She just started offering it. Yeah. So it's like CPA, tax planning services, and life coach, like, and a bookkeeper.
Whoa, okay, because my bookkeeper and my CPA are separate.
Oh no, it's all in house. It's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
because this is separate from like that business coach that you hired. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get into that later.
Okay.
So we suggest bookkeepers first, like as like not a hire, but like a good place to put
A
your
service,
money.
yeah,
Service. And then you hired Ali, and then you had
Jill,
Jill,
our
the
admin.
Okay.
Yep.
And what years were those in, if you had to guess?
Oh, what's 5 years back from now? 2020.
Yes.
2020.
Okay.
And then 2022.
Love that.
And then fast forward now, I have another person,
Yes.
a design assistant, Ella. She joined our team in July.
And I think that's really important to know because I think a lot of people, when they start a business, they want like all these employees right away. And
It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
You got to get established first, like get your feel for it.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I think these dates are important because it shows you like how long it takes to bring people in.
Right.
If you're doing it our way, the bootstrap way, I have seen other people like go to the bank, get a giant loan, and like start with a full staff support. So then they have that debt, you know, that they're paying off, but then, you know, their business becomes very profitable and they can pay off that debt. So I think it also
Right.
depends like the industry you're in. But
Yeah.
I am like that. This is the Details podcast, and that's why I'm doing this, to like share the details on how I did it, how people that come on the podcast did it, because everyone can approach it differently. This is how we did it, and so far it's working. So
You know, I think you actually bring up a really good point that'll kind of lead me into like the final step of where we're at today. So I talked about my fractional CFO, right? Her name's Sheila. So we do a lot of this like life coach, you know, financial planning and all that. And she told me, you know, I don't like taking out loans. Like, you know, like you mentioned, we've bootstrapped it. We've like done our due diligence so we didn't have to take out a big loan to do things. And the final step to getting me to where I'm at today is the building that we purchased. But Sheila and I had to have so many conversations. She's like, you know, sometimes debt is okay if it gets you to that next level, as long as the numbers make sense and we know you're bringing in enough, like the debt is okay.
yeah.
I was terrified. Still
Of
kind of
course.
am sometimes, some days.
course.
But, you know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to take out any more debt than the building. Like everything else just works good without.
Yes. So let's
Yeah.
deep dive into this.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much here to unpack. First
Oh,
of
yeah.
all, like insanely cool that you have a building.
It's
like,
a dream come true.
absolutely incredible. Mad props. Like so cool. And you worked out of your house for like
For
the
10 years.
first 10 years.
Yep.
Which obviously is important for keeping your expenses low. When you do bootstrap something, you want to keep your expenses as low as possible and then keep your money coming in so that, you know, you don't go under. Obviously, you got to make some money at some point. When did you have that turning point? Obviously, you said you had a lot of, you know, conversations with Sheila, but when you're like, okay, I think it actually makes sense for us to leave my house
Yeah.
and go to a building.
So my life has always just been so crazy and chaotic. I think 2025 is the year of just like rest and peace and solidarity. But so we were working out of my home office, right? And it was me, Allie, and Jill. And we were working from my home office in this small, like 20 by 20 room. I have 2 dogs that like to bark constantly and just drive me up the wall. And then I have my 2, now 3 kids. Which funny story,
Yeah.
I actually closed on my building the day I gave birth to my 3rd child in 2023.
What?
Yeah.
Do you recommend that?
You know, it's kind of fun.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just wild. It's the way
That
things
is
work for me.
Amazing. That's very entrepreneurial of you.
Right?
Actually, I heard that entrepreneurs have babies in twos. So like you had a baby and you had a
Oh.
business baby. Like you had a
Yes.
building and a baby.
So true. So true.
Okay, but can I pause for a second? Because this is another like
Yeah.
we haven't even gotten to like my actual questions, but it's okay because it's like this is all in here. That was one of my other questions. So and guys probably never get asked this question, but I don't care. I'm a mom and I'm gonna ask this question because it's important to me. As a mom and a entrepreneur, you know, a female business owner, talk about that balance of having kids, because I put my son in daycare 8 weeks old, which is as early as he could be put in, because people are like, oh yeah, just do your design work while baby's at home and plays on the ground.
that is so unrealistic.
Impossible.
No,
Like that
can't happen.
You must think we pick paint colors and fluff pillows and nothing else, because
There's so much attention to detail that you have to be paying attention to. And there's no way I can be taking care of a child and doing all the CAD work, all the things, the documents, the measurements, like client expectations, saying the right things. No, it's not happening.
Impossible.
No.
So childcare. I want to talk about childcare.
Yeah.
Because you had help, but
Yeah.
I want to talk about your help situation, because I went like full daycare because I don't have any family in town. And Wesley did start at 8 weeks, which I regret now. Like I wish I would have taken more time off with him, but if we have a second
Hindsight,
one,
yeah.
well, I'll be better.
Yeah.
But okay, you talk about your situation.
Okay, so this is also part of the reason why we left my house and went to a building.
This is the details.
So the 3 kids at home, right? Well, 2, I guess, before the 3rd came along. But my mother-in-law was consistently for 7 years doing Mondays for us. And then my mom would do Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wow. And then so between my husband and myself, we had to figure out a way to cover Wednesday. So sometimes it'd be me. And this is true to this day. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's him.
Yeah, I saw your hours on your site. It says you're not in the office Wednesday.
I'm not, but like technically people still try to get a hold of me. And so there's the balance there that's non-existent, right?
Talk about balance later.
Right. I'm at home with my kids on Wednesday a lot of times. Yeah. So we've just been very fortunate to have that support system. But it also meant that there was crying babies in the background when we were trying to conduct business out of my professional 20 by 20 home office.
Like on a Zoom call.
On a Zoom call. And I'm like, Mom, quiet. On a call. I don't want these people to think I'm not legit.
And that's probably really hard, like layering family into the business like that. It gets complex. But okay, so that was obviously a driving factor.
Yeah.
You had 3 kids. I have 1. I can't imagine. Which this is like a really superficial question, but I'm going to ask it. How do you keep up with laundry and like cleaning and meals?
I married a saint of a husband. I really, truly did. He is the family cook.
Mine too.
Yeah, you don't want me to cook. I can cook some mac and cheese. Like, I can cook a nice chicken meal if I have time to do it and I've got the materials in front of me, but I don't have time to plan that out. So half the time it's just like, let's scrap something together, and he's good at that.
Yeah.
Laundry, I hate. I loathe. I literally loathe. I will do anything else. I will scrub toilets before I want to fold laundry.
No way.
Yes.
Oh, I hate toilets.
Oh, yes. It's just like, it's such a long process and there's just so much of it. And so I'll either do it on Sundays in like bulk or my husband helps with the laundry a lot too.
Nice. And house cleaning.
We don't clean our house as much as we should. But we did have a cleaner there for a while.
That's what I was going to ask, because I feel like a lot of female business owners that I talk to hit that point in their career where they just like, you're juggling balls, and adding a business into your life is just adding one more ball to juggle. And at some point you're going to drop some ball. Like you just like, we're a sponge.
Yeah.
We can only absorb so much water. And a lot of female business owners have cleaning ladies, which I love and respect. And I like try to bend the arm of my husband saying we need one. And he still isn't broke yet. So
yeah, we had one there for a while, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like done is better than perfect. That's applicable to so many things in life. But
and business.
Yes. But then I'd like see something where I'm like, oh, they missed that. Now I'm irritated and I'm paying for this.
Because you're paying good money.
And it's like, I get it. It's a lot. It's a lot to maintain a house and clean a house, especially I have a 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom house. So that's a lot. That's a lot of bathrooms.
And you have pets and kids. Which pets is like a whole nother layer of.
Oh my gosh.
Because they're inside pets.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
My husband would never. He grew up on a farm.
We're to the point where we don't want any more indoor animals. Like after the ones we have are gone.
How old are they?
I have a 13-year-old mutt. Okay. She's old. Okay. And then we have a 7-year-old hunting dog who he's staying at my dad's right now. He's spending some time with my dad just because he needed to get out. Yeah. I couldn't have him around anymore.
Okay. So you're managing your personal life. You're building your business life. Like, you moved out of the home. And you have a dog at your dad's.
My mom and dad's. They're together.
Your mom and dad. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but my dad's taking care of him. Yeah.
And so you were like, okay, we're going back to the building now. So you're it's time. I know that move is in front of me. Obviously, you have to have some tough conversations. And then talk about like funding, looking for spots, like your options, the process. Like, because that's a huge thing to unpack.
Yeah. So funding, I had to get a partner and a loan in this process. So I went from like very minimal debt to, there's a lot more there. But the process of finding our building, actually, it was like a 2-year process. Like I knew it needed to happen. I was ready for it to happen. We started the search for a building and it took that long. Yeah, you don't want to make a rush decision buying a building. And we actually had contracted a different building and the deal fell through because during inspection, the roof was shot and it was going to be 30 to 50 grand to replace it, and they would not lower the price on this building.
I think I remember you talking to me about that because I remember the 30 grand now that you say that.
Yeah, and it's right down the street from my current building, actually. I was crushed. I was so upset. Like added the guy that owned the building on LinkedIn and sent him a message and like, if you change your mind, but now I look back and I'm like, that building was totally the wrong thing.
Yeah, meant to be that you didn't.
Totally
sign
the
it.
wrong building. I'm so glad we ended up where we did.
Yeah. But I love that you said you were crushed, because I feel like this is a thing that I struggle with, and I'm sure other women out there struggle with. Business is business, but we are females, so we are just
there's always the emotion tied to it.
We're always more emotional, and so I feel like I too can get attached to a certain idea or outcome or trajectory for my business, or like a dream client that I needed to sign, and then if I didn't, heartbroken. But so many things.
Yeah, and you're like,
out.
what's wrong with me? Like, why? But
taking it personally.
Half the time, it has nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so you got a business partner.
Yep.
You were looking for buildings. You were almost under contract on one. Fell out. Devastating. And you're like, now I have to start looking all over again.
Yeah.
Or to give like a second or third place one.
Yeah. So I probably went on about a year. My husband was deployed, I think, at this time when I was looking initially. And then I think he was back he was back by this time because I had my third child.
Is he there for all of them?
Yeah, he was home for the birth of all of them, fortunately.
Good.
But yeah, so then I found this building, and it was on the listing, but I contacted my broker, and he was like, well, it's already under contract. But if you want to go look, things happen. It might fall through. Like, let's go look. You just never know.
Yeah.
So we did. And then 2 weeks later, he called me. He's like, the deal fell through. Do you want to put in an offer? Yeah.
This sounds like a God thing.
I think it is.
That
totally.
is so incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So God didn't let the first one happen. You were interested in this building. It was unavailable, and then it became available.
And the wild thing is, when the first building that we put an offer in that initially got accepted, I was like, wait, can I cuss on you?
Sure.
I was shitting my pants, oh my gosh, this is so much money. We got this building. Oh wow, big step. I was having hyperventilating, panic attacks over it.
I think panic attacks is low key a part of being a business owner.
Oh, it is. I was just I'm used to it at this point.
Be ready.
Yeah, but then we found this other building, and it was 2 times as much, and for whatever reason, I wasn't as nervous about it.
Really? You had already gone over that mental obstacle.
Yeah. And then we had to put more money into it to build it out too, so it was even more.
I know. At one point you texted me and you're like, I'm bleeding money. And I'm like, girl, you're doing great. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks for always being my cheerleader.
Yes. Because that is scary and stressful. Okay, so the building you own, you own the whole building with your partner.
Correct.
Your business is in the top level, and you already have a built-in tenant in the bottom who was in the building when you purchased it, right?
So actually, we do a built-in tenant. He's in the back. So on the street level, he's behind me on my space. Okay. Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Yeah, it's a dentist.
You already have a paying tenant.
Yeah. We are building out our basement now for another tenant too.
Oh, cool. So if you guys are looking for a great spot and great neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's a whole separate business entity.
It is.
Correct?
It's a different LLC. It is not tied to the Modern Hive at all.
The property ownership.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's important for multiple reasons.
So many reasons, separate your businesses, because, if something happens over here, in theory, can't come after you over here.
Yeah.
There's probably some additional steps to take involved in that, but
yeah, no, that's so smart, so wise. Okay, so that's a quick rundown of
quick 20-minute
2024. Okay, so we have so much. We talked about a lot of these points, but I want to do a quick rapid fire questions. I think this is a series I want to add to this podcast, rapid fire, and it'll kind of change depending on the guest and the business that they're in. But okay, are you ready? Just
let's do it.
Knee-jerk responses.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I have 10. 10 rapid fire questions. Here we go. Courtney Otte. Gray or brown?
Gray.
Leather or lace?
Leather.
Beach or mountains?
Oh, can I have both?
Yeah, no, that's hard.
Beach, because I hate the cold.
Same. Okay, symmetrical or asymmetrical?
Symmetrical.
Same. Remodel or new construction?
Remodel.
Pendants or sconces?
Sconces.
Pattern or solid?
Pattern.
I think it's so hard to pick. You did that so fast. I love this. Traditional or modern?
Modern.
Obvious. It's in the name. Print publication or online publication?
Print all the way.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing like holding.
I know. Same.
Computer aided drawing or hand drawing?
Computer aided.
Okay, that was my 10 questions.
Oh, that was easy.
That was fun. I almost put in things that people call the same, floor plan or blueprint. I call it a floor plan.
Yeah, floor plan. Yeah,
and then
same.
couch or sofa?
Couch. No, sofa.
It just depends on the day.
It sounds more elegant. Sofa sounds more elegant.
It does.
Yeah.
And then Bathroom or washroom?
Bathroom.
I know. Toilet or stool?
Toilet?
No, I call it a toilet too. And then what was the other one? I was like coffee table or cocktail table?
Ooh. Oh, I like cocktails, so I'm going to go cocktail table.
And I don't drink either. I drink tea once or twice.
So
I
coffee.
gave up alcohol and caffeine to try to like help my migraines.
Oh, is it working?
I don't know. I've also given up gluten.
Is that helping?
I don't know.
Oh,
Try
health is a
anything.
process. That's a whole nother topic.
I know. Okay. That was super fun. Here, this is a good one. Okay. Biggest struggles or obstacles. If we haven't talked about it already, I think we all face different business struggles or obstacles. And I think like we already touched on, like overcoming those, you just like learn so much more and grow in your business. Can you think of any like struggle or obstacle you had to overcome?
I think it, like if you were to ask me now, I would probably have something different if you asked me 6 months from now.
For sure.
I think the biggest struggle for me has been the transition to the building in business, because it has made me up level on so many different aspects of the business and just become more of a serious, legit business. And along with that becomes a lot more responsibility. I've had to, write employee handbooks. I hired an HR consultant to kind of go through some like compensation packages, things like that. And so I think the transition literally has been the hardest thing, just because it's a mental shift. Like not only am I like just designing, now I'm managing people and creating processes to build our business into something, not that I'm ever going to sell, but if we wanted to, you like could give it to someone and it would already be built out.
Yeah, because the difference is it's not reliant on you to function.
Correct.
It relies on like the internal processes. And
Yeah,
systems.
correct. I mean, that's the direction we're heading.
That's the goal.
Yeah, that's
That
the goal.
is the ultimate goal. So cool. Okay, so I'm glad you touched on that, hiring the HR consultant. That was one of my other questions. Like I know we talked about employees, 3 employees, bookkeeper, who is also your CPA and your business coach, HR. What other professionals do you surround yourself with that like help your business run?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I mentioned this has been a year or two of growth for us, right? I've just recently like added all these additional expenses to my business, which
She's
is
like, cha-ching, we took out a loan.
terrifying.
Wait, the loan was in the other business name.
it
Oh,
was.
okay.
Yeah. But it's like to my name. But Yeah, so I hired a social media girl. She does all of our social media strategy, planning, and posting. I used to do that all on my own, and now I don't have time.
I'm still doing it all, but I don't have time.
Yeah, she takes care of all of that.
How many days a week does she come in? Or is it all virtual?
Usually she comes in like once every other week just to grab content, and then we just like virtually plan things out.
Love.
Or I'll do site visits, and she can come along to those too.
Yeah.
I also have hired an SEO company to help our rankings on Google.
Love that.
Yeah, that's a newer one for me.
Is that like a retainer-based company or a
it's
one-time fee?
once a month. It's a flat rate fee.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Do you have to sign like a year contract?
I think my contract is about a year.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I should look a little closer at that.
It's curious because some people are like, oh, we do a minimum of 6 months or, you know.
I think there was like a 3-month minimum in there. Yeah.
Cool.
And then I also have recently hired an OBM, which is an online business manager. And she's doing all the things that like I'm not smart enough to do, or not that I'm not smart enough to do. I just don't have the time to like strategize,
Like
you know?
what exactly?
So she is helping us build out our business from a process management standpoint and a client relations standpoint.
Love.
So when I initially hired on Allie, I had built out some processes in a platform called ClickUp that we use to this day. Kind of like started bouncing around between like, should I use Asana, should Monday.com, ClickUp, what's the best one?
Yeah.
Landed back on ClickUp. But since I had originally built out those processes, we had grown so much that a lot of it was no longer, related.
Outdated.
It was outdated.
For you, yeah.
And so here I am, got all these clients, got this building, got all these employees. I'm like, we need to update our processes, like how we're doing projects, how our clients are interacting with us, what kind of emails do they receive from us once an order is placed. And
like automated.
yeah, or like, it's already
Follow up.
there. It just, we edit
Copy,
it.
paste,
Yeah.
Insert the right details.
Yeah. And so I ended up hiring an OBM, online business manager, to help me basically audit those and rebuild them. And I joke, not like, I kid you not, since this fall or the end of summer of 2024, I feel like I've actually rebirthed my business.
I love that for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Like we've gone through the branding. We did a rebrand.
Yes, with
Which,
Shauna.
yes,
at
with
We Are
Shauna.
Branch.
Yep.
I did a rebrand with her in, I think, 2023.
Yeah, I think it was like a year before mine or
Yeah.
a year and a half or so.
And I loved her so much. She's a female business owner in Arizona.
Palm Springs,
California. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Shauna owns We Are Branch. She's a female business owner in Palm Springs, California. I found her on Instagram. I think she had done Goldenrod Pastries branding in Lincoln.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
Okay.
how I found her. Was
Yep.
like I was looking at the bottom of her website because I thought it was really well done. Found Shauna, did a rebrand. Was telling Courtney, I was like, it's so amazing. Like, not that you need a rebrand.
Oh, I totally did.
But I knew she didn't.
I
Like
totally
your elk.
did.
I knew you didn't like your elk. And so like we had talked about it. So like if you're ever looking for someone, like I would rave about Shauna. I would highly recommend. So then you did a total rebrand with Shauna.
Complete rebrand. Like, what are our client centric like ethics? We
Our
planned
pillars.
Yeah, we planned all that out, and then we got the logo and the fonts and the colors and all the things that I've actually never done.
Mission statement,
Yes.
slogan, tagline, watermark.
Yeah, all the things.
Monogram.
And I would say that was kind of like the inception of like this snowball of like, redo this, redo that. But it's all good things and it's all necessary, and I don't regret any of it.
And are you still bankrolling all of this? Like hiring
Yeah.
like the PR or not PR, the social media lady, the OBM, the rebranding. You're not taking out a loan.
No,
Way to go.
no, absolutely not.
Love that.
I'm going to avoid that if I can.
Yes. Okay. So you have 3 employees, OBM,
Yep.
PR or not PR. Gosh, social media lady.
Yep.
Have you ever hired a PR firm?
No, I haven't.
I did once for 6 months.
And
It was okay.
yeah.
It's super expensive. I think mine was like $2,000 a month,
Okay.
and it is a long game. So like the minimum I could sign up for was 6 months, but they were upfront and they were like, PR is a long game. Like people are 12 months ahead already on publications. So if you want to get in, like you should really sign a PR brand for like multiple years. And I didn't have like the bankroll to do that. So I was like, I'm just going to do 6 months and like see how it goes. And I did notice like during those 6 months, it wasn't like a ton. It was increased like on like social or like online platforms, like mostly just like adding like my 2 cents, my expert commentary. But then I noticed like the year after, because like contacts had been made, then the year after I started getting like more inquiries for like actual.
You were on the cover of a magazine.
Yes,
Congrats.
yes, thank you. You've been on like a trillion covers.
Well, they're all local. This was a little bit different for you.
Thank you. Yeah, so that was exciting. But okay, so and then your OBM.
Yeah, I'm trying to think
I'm
what else.
losing
My
track.
fractional CFO, we've got that.
Yes.
We talked about that.
But she's also your bookkeeper and CFA.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
Wait, question. I thought you hired, and maybe this is my brain being confused from like COVID and baby and toddler and just business. I thought you hired a business coach that like taught you to level up your
Yes,
fractional CFO and
I
stuff.
did, but it's actually a group coaching thing. And
Oh.
I actually signed on for that last year, I think in March or so. So I've been in the program for about a year.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And is that like a monthly membership thing too, or a contract?
I think you can pay monthly, but I just paid it all up front because I just wanted it like out of sight, out of mind, like made the investment. Now I got to show up.
Yeah, just like only bite the bullet once.
Yeah.
I love paying like even like Photoshop or Adobe or QuickBooks or whatever. Like I love paying annual because you can just save a little bit rather than paying monthly. And I'm all about just saving that little bit as a business owner.
Absolutely.
But then I'm like, what are my monthly expenses? I don't know because I paid this in January. I paid that in March. But then it's like a year cycle.
Yeah.
So I did. Okay, this is one thing that maybe we're jumping ahead, but Courtney and I wanted to talk numbers because I feel like owning a business is it's all numbers based. Like obviously we're interior designers, we're creatives, so we're a little more right brained. But if you want to own a business, you're going to have to use the left side, the analytical numbers side of your brain. Courtney's a lot better with numbers than me since obviously she has a fractional CFO and her bookkeeper and CPA are together and all the stuff.
I wouldn't say I'm good at numbers. I would say I've hired where I'm not in a strong suit at.
Which is super important.
Yeah.
Super important. So that was one thing that like I was like quickly looking back on because we had talked about this. But I like just was talking to Courtney and she was talking to me about her monthly operating expenses and where it's at and like explaining that to me, like just chatting about it as business owners, but then also like proving to your client almost like that you're worth the money, which obviously those two things are tied. But
yeah, I mean, that's something I struggle with, honestly. I really, truly do because you know, that you could hire someone down the street who just started, who's doing it for a quarter of the cost and they don't have all the overhead and maybe they will produce an okay product or just as good. Who knows? It's kind of a gamble, I guess, that you'd have to be willing to take as a client.
Yeah.
But we just really want to show up as our best selves and providing our client with the best product possible. And in order to do that, we have to have all these different facets of our business and the employees who are going to help take care of our clients. Like I don't have time to run to the tile store to drop off a tile, and the cabinet maker might need that to verify something one way or the other. And it's like, that's really vital to the job. And if I don't have time to do that, but someone in my office can, like, I think that's worth something.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's really important to talk about is like people compare interior designers online all the time. And if you are a client, like this is actually like benefiting you guys listening. If you're a person out there who wants to hire an interior designer, we're going to teach you how to compare them. Okay. Because it's not apples to apples out there.
No, it is not.
Sometimes you're comparing apples to oranges and you don't even know it. So
I think it's really hard for clients to really see the differences too, because
100%.
it's an art in a sense. It's an art form. And so like everyone's going to show up a little differently. Everyone's going to have a different product, a different deliverable. But I think the thing you and I have in common is part of what we do deliver to our clients is very high level detail. Like we are thinking through things. We're thinking through like the ergonomics of like, okay, if we're going to design a vanity, we were just talking about this today in the office. If we're designing a vanity for our client and she wants it to have like a little makeup seating area, but she wants a drawer underneath it, like we are thinking through like, okay, the chair we're putting underneath there, is there enough leg room between where her booty is sitting and her knees are hitting underneath there with the drawer space? Like we're analyzing that stuff, and then we're taking it a step further and documenting it on our plan set, our construction documents, showing the measurements of what that drawer size is supposed to be and the overall height. I don't know that everyone does that.
Yeah. I think I would say there's probably three main things to compare when looking at designers. One is experience, because I think that's really important. Are they fresh out of college, or do they have an established business that they've been working at for a long time?
And I was there too. I was fresh out of college doing it.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that.
We've all been there. It's just, I do think experience is really important.
Agreed.
Experience, education, because we do live in a state where you require zero education and you can call yourself an interior design. Courtney and I both went to schooling, and we do use like advanced computer programs, like she said, so we can really pay attention to details and dimensions. So I would say if you're looking for an interior designer, compare these three things. 1, education, 2, experience, and 3, the deliverables. So what are you actually going to get from this interior designer? And that should be in your contract. So
oh, yes.
Yeah.
I just redid our contracts.
Oh, I love contracts.
Yeah. I think mine's like 30 pages now.
I think mine's 32.
Gosh, it's so much to read. I'm sorry to all my clients.
We can talk about contracts next. But I do think looking at the deliverables, like what are you getting? Are they just picking paint colors and like writing that in a Word doc and emailing it to you? Or do they have full specification?
What's the
software?
Sheen of the paint?
Yeah.
Like where's
what
it
walls
going?
does it go on? Is it the trim? Is it the door frame? Is it the base? Like we use spec software, so we have it all in there, and then we also do full floor plan and finish drawings, so there's literally no question. And then the next level, like if you really want premium service, is adding on the interior rendering so you can see it all. And so it's like, what level of that are you getting? Are you getting paints typed out in a room, like name typed out and then emailed to you? Or are you getting full specs, full construction documents, dimensions, details, renderings,
tags, furniture tags,
and then how long? How long is it going to take them to produce this? Because like she was saying, having more employees, obviously they can do work quicker, where if it's one person, it's going to take longer. That's like that rule of thumb about anything, but also it applies to interior design. It's like the triangle. It's like good quality, expensive, fast. Pick 2.
Yeah. Where do you want to fall in that myriad?
Pick 2.
Yeah. So true.
Because things that are built fast, you either pay a lot of money for it to get built fast, or they're really cheap.
Yeah.
Which means low quality.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. We talked about people, how many employees you have. Okay, this is an important question.
Oh gosh, shoot. Go for it.
Do you eat lunch?
I do.
Do you eat it at your desk?
Yes.
Okay. I was listening to a podcast recently of Emma Grady, who she's like the actual businesswoman behind the Kardashians brands. Like the Kardashians do the marketing, but she like does like the business operations. And she was saying in this, one of the lady literally asked her, she was like, do you have time for lunch? Like, do you go out to lunch? Do you like make it a point to
I
like,
DoorDash
take a
all the
break in your
time.
day? Yeah. And she's like, I'm lucky because she has an accent. I still don't judge me. She's like, I'm lucky if I eat at my desk and I'm shouting out orders and I've got salad in my mouth. And she's like, who has time to eat? And I'm like,
I will say that is one thing balance wise. I have made a priority that I do eat. There's a day or two in the week maybe where we're running from appointment to appointment. It's like 2:00. I'm like, shoot, I have not eaten yet.
that happens to me daily.
But when I worked from my home, so I was going to mention this, but my husband was also working from home. So it was like everyone was home, but he would make me lunch sometimes and like literally bring it in on a plate and set it on my desk. And now I don't have that.
Love him.
So DoorDash it is sometimes.
Nice. Yeah. Like today I didn't have time. I drank part of a mango smoothie.
Oh my gosh.
And I was eating some dried mangoes. So after this, I'm going to actually eat. But yeah, I feel like that is the thing. Like if you want to start a business thinking you're going to work less than an 8 to 5 with a 1 hour lunch break, like
no,
that's not the story.
Well, and here's the thing. Like my employees are so great. However, at the end of the day, nobody is going to care about your business as much as you do.
Yes.
And so I can't tell you the countless amount of nights where I will, after the kids have gone to bed, pull up my computer, catch up on some emails. Actually, I will say our office manager, I've noticed she's emailing at some random times of the day at
Way to
night.
go.
But she's flexible like that, and that's just kind of our arrangement. But I'm pulling my computer up and I'm like, okay, what process do I need to address? Like where am I behind in terms of like client experience that I need to catch up on? And so I'll do that, or I'll create a proposal. It's just like those late nights.
Yeah.
I know you do it too.
Yes, it's like you're doing the work during the day and then you're working on the business nights and weekends.
Yes.
And same thing with like the rebrand or like hiring your fractional CFO. Like there's working in the business and then there's working on the business. And I think brands that grow work both. Like, because I think as a business owner, it's really easy to get stuck working in the business and just working and not working on the business.
And it's so important if you want to grow.
It is.
It's
100%.
essential.
But yeah, I do think being a business owner, there was one thing I love following Gary Vee. Do you follow Gary Vee?
I don't.
Oh my gosh, I love him. He one time said, he was like, no one is going to care as much about your business as you. And of course, they shouldn't. He's like, so if you're a business owner and you're looking at your employee and you're wanting them to care more, like they can't, like they don't have as much in stake as
it's not as emotionally connected.
Yeah, which is totally understandable. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're there to do a job. But if you are wanting to start your own interior design firm, or if you're going to start any business, like just know it's way more than a 9 to 5. If you're good at it, you're gonna be thinking about it constantly, ways to improve it, how to market better, how to reach people, how to improve.
But also not like this, like including those like conversations you have with your, like for me with my husband of like, what do I do? Like this is stressing me out. Like I need to come up with a solution for this problem or this issue, or just sometimes it's a venting thing, and like the emotional toll that takes, and then I feel so bad for him. I've tried to stop doing that and like have found like a business bestie like you.
Yes.
Where I'm like, I know you can understand this. Like help me through this issue.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, that actually leads me to a point that was on my second page. Being a business owner is very stressful, like you just said. And
I'm forming some wrinkles.
Oh, girl, yeah, same. And I haven't done like the Botox or injections
same.
yet. I'm scared of needles a little bit, but that's a different topic.
We did talk about this.
Yeah, so true. Okay, since being a business owner is extremely stressful, I've noticed different business owners deal with the stress in different ways. So, I mean, that there could be mental, there could be physical, like people approach it differently. So how do you deal with the stress of being a business owner?
I don't know that I deal with it well, to be honest with you. If we're being really candid. I probably hide it really well.
She's always so put together and like polished.
Oh, man. I mean, I don't know.
Well, because we already talked about anxiety attacks.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, I had one, I think like 2 months ago. And I was just like on the floor shaking and like trying to breathe, and no one was here for that. Like I was alone, thank God. But like it does happen, and it does get very overwhelming. And since like it is our livelihood and our business, like it's very stressful. One thing that one of my business mentors from Chicago, she was like, you have to have a therapist. And I did have a therapist for a while for like work and life.
You know, I would love to. I can't find a way to make it work with my schedule, and I want to see them in person. I know there's there's
Zoom.
virtual options,
Yeah.
but
Well, I know a great lady if you want me to give your name.
Yeah.
Or give you her name.
I think you already did.
Okay. But that was okay, I felt. But for me personally, what I found is so much better is just moving my body. Working out has been like the best stress relief for me. Like postpartum, I struggled really bad with postpartum depression. Brazilian jiu-jitsu, baby. If you are struggling with anything in life,
do that. I
Brazilian
bet.
jiu-jitsu.
It's like you're releasing all that energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you're so focused on doing the moves and like surviving and not getting choked out or get your arm broken that you don't have any brain waves left to worry about your business or worry about how you're looking or worry about that deadline or worry about that business loan. Like you're literally 100% in your body, and I'm rarely in my body. Like I'm such a thinker and like always processing, and my wheels are always turning. So for me to get out of my body, and I'm not currently training Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I am doing this training for warriors, like weightlifting, HIT, like
I love that.
very intense workout class, and that even just helps me get out of my head and into my body, which is just such a nice break.
Yeah, I mean, I need to do stuff like that. But one of my goals for 2025 is to join the 5 a.m. club and like start waking up at 5 a.m., which so far not so great.
You are so cool.
But I'm taking like proactive steps. Like I've started waking up at 6 and then 5:50 is this week. So we'll see if I can like progress to that 5 a.m. mark.
Oh my gosh, okay, so what are you going to do at 5 a.m.?
I'm going to work out and then I'm going to have coffee and like maybe read some scripture or something like that. Yeah.
I try to read scripture in the morning because my husband does drop off at daycare.
Okay.
When my son was young, he would just like bawl if I dropped him off. So my husband does drop off. I do pick up. So there's like, I think I have like 15 to 20 minutes between when my husband leaves for daycare drop off and before my employee comes over. And so I try to like read my scripture and eat a quick breakfast before they come in. And I can really tell the difference on like days when I do read my scripture and when I don't.
Yeah. Agreed.
I feel like God has just like, he provides a piece that like you can't explain.
Yeah. Personally. Honestly, that's probably the best way to manage the stress.
Yeah. Oh, so true. Yeah.
And just some cuddles with my kiddos too. That always helps.
Nighttime.
Yeah.
We're still in the phase where Wesley has to like, we have to lay with him to put him down. And I'm just like, oh, I love the cuddles.
I know. My 7-year-old is that way. She's like, she's the hardest one to put to bed, believe it or not.
Maybe her love language is physical touch.
Yeah, I think so.
That might be because my love language is physical touch, and I can tell my son's is because even if we're just sitting there, he just
Aww.
like sometimes he'll just
wants to have a hand on
yeah,
you.
put his hand on me. Where like my husband, his love language is acts of service. So he's like taking out the trash.
So he wants you to do the laundry for him.
Yes, he does. Yeah, and I don't mind the laundry. I'd rather do that.
No.
Okay, let's see. For clients, we can talk about this. What to expect during a construction project. Because some people, if they're like first time doing like renovation or new construction, they like kind of don't know the order of events or like what to expect.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay. So you probably have a lot of insight to this, but I think my biggest advice to my clients when they're doing a construction project is just think of it, you know, if you are parents, think of it like a pregnancy process.
Love.
Literally my best advice. There's so many highs, so many lows, so many exciting times where you're like, just get this over with and done. But at the end of it, you birth this beautiful thing and then it's all fine.
I love that analogy. I've never heard that one.
I think I came up with it, I think.
Way to go, girl.
I don't know.
That. I use 2 different analogies. The first one that I use, I like to explain it to my clients as a wedding, like budgeting for a wedding, because that's a huge orchestration. It takes many, many months of planning and design and implementation. Obviously, it's quicker. But there's so many parts and pieces. And especially when it comes to finances, I'm like, okay, think about it. Like, what do you want to splurge on? What do you want to save on? Because I think it's really important to identify your number up front and then talk about that. Because if you keep it a secret, we can only help you so far.
I think a lot of clients, especially if they're first time, don't know what to expect either. They don't know how much it's going to cost. There's some resources out there that you can Google and kind of get a good feel for it.
Yep.
But
approximate square footage for a remodel, approximate square footage for new construction. But also I feel like Google's always low.
Yeah, agreed.
I feel like,
and market, it's different from market to market.
Yes.
Yeah.
State to state. But yeah, I try to tell them like, okay, think about your wedding. Like maybe you wanted to spend a bulk of your money on the dress and the videography and the food. So then maybe you saved on invites or venue or transportation or whatever it was. Like same thing with the house. Like think about what's really important to you. Like, are you huge, like chefs? Do you have a lot of people over? Do you do a lot of entertaining? Like, let's invest in the kitchen. Let's do some really great, countertops, maybe save a little bit on the cabinets, do an amazing light fixture. You know, like there's push and pull that you can do within every budget. So that's how I like to explain construction, kind of like wedding costs.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I like to explain it to is a cake, because I think have I told
Cake?
you? Have I told
Yeah,
you
I
this?
think so.
Okay. I love to explain interior design like a cake, because people think that it's just frosting and sprinkles, like picking the paint color and fluffing the pillows, but you literally can't do that without the cake structure. So what goes into a cake? There's so much, and it's science. There's like eggs, sugar, flour, salt,
Right.
like all these things that have to come perfectly together in the oven for a certain amount of time in a certain shape. Maybe you frost in between, maybe you don't. Like how tall is it? How wide is it? How moist it is? Like all that has to be set up first before you can frost and decorate. And it's that all like both need each other.
The foundation.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it wouldn't be great cake if you were just eating spoonfuls of frosting, or if you're just eating like
get a
bread
stomachache.
cake. Yeah. So like it's all about balance, and it's like architecture and design, I think, go hand in hand so well. So that's how I try to explain, like, oh yeah, we want to be there. Like we are going to communicate with the architect. I think interior design and architecture are so important, like framing views, you know, walkways, making sure it doesn't interrupt like a furniture grouping, or a furniture grouping doesn't interrupt your natural flow through the house. Like there's so much that goes together. So that's why we want to be involved with meeting with your builder, meeting with your architect. Like,
And on such a high level of detail too, because I can't tell you how many times a floor plan has come across our desk, and then we blow it up into a 3D model, and we're like, why is that hood over the range, the cooktop, like way out of line with where it should be? And like you wouldn't know it until you got into the construction of it if you didn't have that 3D modeling and someone paying attention to it.
or elevations and reflective
Yeah.
ceiling plans and like all of those extra details. 100%. And I think one thing that I see a lot on prints, because we like to get prints in when they're like 75, 80% done and do like a quick interior red line, because think about it. An architect thinks about a set of drawings one way, a builder thinks about it one way, an interior designer looks at it one way. And I think it's great for you to get all three sets of eyes on it, so that you know you're going to have the most well-functioning space at the end, because you're going to have to live with it for years and years if it's a home. And so one thing that I always see is, like, for mechanical, architects always want to put the floor vents to the side of the window, because I get it, because that's where cold air
The draperies
are coming in. But yes, exactly, the draperies hang right there, so
You're gonna have like a little balloon of a drapery just like blowing up right there.
every time that your HVAC system turns on, your drapes are going to blow. So I'm like, hey, let's center it in the middle of the window instead, so you can still get that view. The drapes will stay. They won't be like ghosts blowing up every however many often your home heats and cools. So
Absolutely.
those little things.
Yeah, we all have our specialty. We all know different experiences and information. I think putting that all together, it's like the powerhouse.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Okay, you guys. Courtney and I have already addressed that we are in the same market, and we both do interior design. There was one time that
This is so funny.
There's one time that a developer approached to work with me, and
You reached out to me and you're like, Courtney, oh my gosh, guess what? Like, guess what this person wants to do?
yeah, because he was being like so strong army, like trying to tell me what services I would offer him at what price, and how long it would take, and like what my deliverables were. And I'm like, interesting. Here's like, and I was very professional about it. And I was like, I sent them links to my website, and I was like, hey, here's the services we offer. Here's the deliverables. Here's my hourly rate. Like, I can estimate, this project for you. And by the way, like, if you're interested in working, we have this like, new client form. Could you please fill it out so I could get like a better understanding about your scope and size and the project? And he was just like, I will not pay more than X. This is what you will give me. This is what you will do. And I was like taken aback, because no one has ever like talked to me like that. Like, obviously budget and price is always a concern. There's not one project in the world where someone doesn't care about the price. So like that's a regular healthy conversation. But the way this guy was trying to strong arm me, I had never experienced that before. So I reached out to Courtney, business bestie, and I'm like, this guy's saying all this crazy stuff. Like,
And I'm like, you should say this.
Yeah.
Just hold strong. Don't take it.
This. And then I was literally driving to LinkedIn to go to a job site, and my phone starts ringing, and it's Courtney. And I'm like, I bet I know what this call's about.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, same person reached out to me.
Yep.
Did the same kind of thing. But I think he kind of already got some information from you, and like what he was telling me was kind of like along the lines
He
of that.
edited his deliverable request.
Yes.
Once he talked to
you.
you.
But I was just like straight up like, it's going to cost this, and I can't start until 3 months from now.
Yeah.
Silence.
Yeah.
But I called you and I was like, oh my gosh, you will never believe who just landed through our lead intake form.
Wait, he did fill out your lead intake? I
Yes.
thought he refused to.
No, he did.
Oh, okay.
He did.
Good for him.
Yeah.
He's learning.
Yeah.
Growing.
So, thanks for teaching them.
Oh,
Needless to say, neither of us took that job, or it didn't really go anywhere on my end either.
No,
so
same.
But I was kind of glad I got forewarned. I kind of already knew what was happening and what we were getting into.
I'm glad that we talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's wild. I mean, that's one of those things where it's like you're thankful you didn't get the job, because if that's how they are up front, imagine how it's going to be working there for years.
That'd be hard.
Yeah.
It'd be rough.
And one thing you mentioned was like, I can't work with you for 3 months. That's really important. If you are going to work with an interior designer, reach out, ask, hey, how far out are you currently booked? Because people aren't just sitting around waiting to start today.
And if they are, I would question that.
Or they might be really young and new in a startup, and you have to take, again, like the experience into your factoring your decision.
Right.
Like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I have on my website right now, we're not taking new jobs until fall of 2025. So if you're interested in working with us, like feel free, fill out the form. We can get in contact. But like, I'm just trying to set that expectation up front. Like, I'm not starting today on your project. We can't.
Yeah. No, literally you cannot.
No. How far are you currently booked? If you have a guess?
I mean, we could probably take a small thing here or there now that I've added another team member to our staff. But I would say we're probably like April, May-ish, really, to take on like a really big project.
Yeah.
If it was the right project, we could probably make room for it.
Speaking of.
But that's like me, like with the boundaries,
I know.
It's hard. It's like, oh, this project's good. Like we can figure out a way to make it work.
Question. What would your dream project be?
Ooh, I would love to do like a boutique hotel.
Same.
Yeah.
Yes, hotels is like why I got into it.
But I feel like you're kind of like, you almost have your dream.
Almost.
Right now.
I know. We're close.
Yeah.
We're close. Hey, for some reason, because you are really residential heavy, I thought you were going to be like a timeshare in Bora Bora. Or like, like someone's second home.
Yeah, no, that would be really fun too. Actually, I love working on vacation homes because there's not as much emotion attached to it. People are willing to do some more adventurous things because they're not there every day.
Yeah.
And it's kind of easier for us too because they're not there every day.
Love that. Love that. Okay. I'm going to read this quote that Courtney posted the other day on social media because it just struck a chord with me, and I think it will speak to every business owner out there.
I saw it and I was like, oh, yes.
And then
right to the soul.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, here's a quote. I don't know who it's by. Do you? Because it didn't cite a source. Okay, source unknown. If this is you, please tell us. We will give you credit. Business is a paradox. To win, you must lose. To grow, you must embrace pains and discomfort. To find stability, you must deal with chaos. Never regret the challenges in your entrepreneurial journey. They are shaping you into something stronger and brighter. The breakthroughs always follow the breakdowns. Keep going.
So good.
Yeah, why did that
so good
stick out to you? Why did you share it on social?
I've mentioned a couple of times we've been in this big phase of growth, and last year had a lot of challenges. I had to do a lot of mindset and mind shift work on so many different levels, but there were just some projects that were a little bit tough.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you had tough projects last year.
Just for whatever reason. I mean, it's all good and fine, but I think it's part of our growth, right? We're headed somewhere, and maybe we didn't set the right expectation or have the right conversation, or maybe I was jumping ahead of myself at certain different phases where it's like, okay, this is where I want to be, but oh wait, I didn't communicate that to this client. That's what we're doing here, and so we just had to work through some tough situations, but
that's a perfect example of like having something not necessarily negative happen, but having something happen in your business and you're like, do you know what? This is a growth opportunity.
Yeah.
Like pain points point us to where we can adjust and grow and implement different things.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie. Like I beat myself up over some of these situations, and I just had to get over it. They were just like, okay, so just people who, they don't understand like what the value is that we're providing. And then they're upset with us when like the fee comes back,
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because then you don't feel like you're valued.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Or just people not following process, or, we're giving way more than what we're being paid for. And it was hard for me to like set that
yes.
boundary.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I'll talk on this for sure. I did that one time when I was working with a developer. He kept asking, "Oh, can you do this? Can you add this? Can you change this? Okay, can you change that again? Okay, yeah, we're 100% on this. Can you change this? Oh, can you come in on this other meeting for this other thing?" Like all this stuff that was way above and beyond my scope, and I wanted to make my clients happy, so I was like,
It's
yes,
hard to
sir,
say
yes,
no
sir,
sometimes.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
But
And then-
I recently just saw something where it's like, you're not an order taker. And if you're allowing that to happen, then there's some breakdown in the process that hasn't been communicated, or in the contract or whatever.
Contract.
And so this is why this last quarter of 2024, I've leaned in so heavily into adjusting our contracts and finally like working through those issues that seem to keep popping up in business, because, as much as as Tara has made us sound so great,
You are so great.
there are things that we need to change and adjust. And
All of us. Yes.
make us better.
But yeah, that's what I did was I got an ironclad contract put together, our 32 pager. And I will say, oh, wonderful. Thank you for that ask. That falls under our ad service clause because it's not in our scope or deliverables. Happy to do it for you at our hourly rate as stated on page 22 of our contract.
Yeah, per the contract. And I can't tell you how many times I'm saying that now.
That's literally, we should have a t-shirt.
And it sounds like, I feel like ick, like saying it, but it's not. It's just business.
And it's protecting yourself at the end of the day, your time
and
your
client's
bottom line.
happiness as well.
Yeah. And if they value you, they're like, yes, I see that on page 28. Agree to these ad service terms at your hourly rate. Thank you for providing this service for me, which more times than not, that's what you get. But then you get that one poo-poo head who's like, and they're the people who don't, not that they say
like,
that, but they don't value you, so then they won't pay you, and then you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And I think also that's one thing that's hard as a woman is I always want each client to be like elated, blissfully happy at the end of each thing. But like things are going to happen. And like you said, you have to stay to your contract, protect your boundaries. If they want ad services, there'll be ad fees. And most people I feel like are really good with that and like respect that.
Yeah, they are. But I will say also, like, just kind of going back to like the hardships of being an entrepreneur at times, it's like, especially in our line of work, because it is such an emotional process for the client
as
itself.
Well.
It's like we can do everything right, and it comes down to the very last second. Like if something doesn't go right, it almost ruins it for them.
I know, it's so hard for
it's so
years
hard
of work and a solid relationship.
Yeah.
But okay, if we want to talk numbers, Courtney's really good with numbers. She told me her operating
Tara
costs.
says I'm good with numbers.
She is. Courtney told me her operating costs per month, and I was like, girl, I need to figure mine out. Like, it's in my profit and loss. I just needed to take the 3 seconds to go look. And I averaged it out. I only have through November done of last year, so I did it through those 11 months. And my average operating cost was $11,605 per month to operate my business. But I would say that that's been higher for us in these last 15 months because we've been doing so much more travel.
Yeah.
Because we have two out-of-state clients right now, but one that I travel quite a bit for. So that's a little high for me as like compared to like the last 7 years of my business. But I think that's just really important to like talk about operating costs because there are so many computer programs, overhead costs, keeping the lights on, like so many things, paying the employees. Like there's so much
PTO.
Yes.
that you gotta keep the employees happy,
marketing,
bonuses.
all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm running at $11,605 operating costs per month, which is a lot.
So I actually don't know my exact number.
But you know your ballpark.
I know my ballpark, but mine is also higher right now too because of some things we've been doing, all the branding efforts that we've been putting forward. So we just kind of like add it all up over the total of a year and just like divide it by 12 really is what we did. But yeah, 30 grand. Oh,
so her operating cost is 30 grand
God.
per month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine are 11,605 a month. And so far this year, like when I looked, or last year, when I looked from January through November, I spent just under 10 grand on marketing alone. And I think there's like supposed to be a percentage. Like I think you're supposed to take like 30% of your overhead for marketing. Like I want to see an actual pie.
I don't know if it's 30%. That
Oh, is
seems
it 20?
high. It might be 20.
It might be 20.
I don't know. It might be dependent upon the business and like the revenue you generate. That might have a factor.
Yeah, you take your like the revenue and then it's like take 20% or whatever. But I want to see the pie chart. Like what are the rest of it? Like, oh, I think 30% is what you're supposed to do on payroll.
Oh, okay.
and then maybe 20 on marketing and advertising. But then I'm like, what are all the other slices of the pie? Like, someone tell me.
Electricity.
I want a picture though. Like, 'cause
Your water bill.
I want to make
your
sure
insurance.
I'm within each percentage. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be spending too much on.
Ooh, if someone has that information, I would
send
love
it to
it.
us. Yeah.
Because I want to know too.
Yeah, because I'm like, where do I need to pull back? Where could I be
Yeah.
spending more? Like,
Yeah.
I'm very like fiscally conservative.
Right. Well, and like right now, our overhead is a lot higher too, just because we do have some extra services going on right now that are helping us build a better business.
Yeah.
So will it always be there forever? I don't know, but it could go down.
Yeah.
It probably should.
I love that for you though. Well, Courtney, thank you so much for joining me as my first podcast
You
guest.
are so welcome. I am so honored that I get to be the very first one. I can't wait to see what you do with this podcast.
Thank you. There's literally no one else I would have rather had be my first guest.
Aw.
And this interview was a dream. Thank you for sharing all the details about your business. I hope you guys found some really great business insight and wisdom from this podcast. Thank you again for being on. And I have a couple more business owners lined up that I'm so excited for you guys to meet. But if you are a business owner and you would like to be on the podcast, please reach out. I would love to talk to you about that possibility. And please stay tuned for next episode. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Details Podcast by The Heartland. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow along on Instagram at The Details Pod, subscribe on YouTube, and leave us a review. Turn on your notifications to hear new episodes every Monday. See you next week. Bye.